Happy Sunday and a happy Father's Day. Welcome to Let's Talk About You. I am so excited about today's show, today's episode. I have a full male panel. Aren't I the luckiest girl in the world? And I just want to do our housekeeping first. So, first and foremost, I want to say a blessed happy Father's Day to all the fathers, the uncles, the fathers to be, the father figures, and of course to my king, Wycliffe Francis. Happy Father's Day, Daddy. I truly and forever will love you. And for our sponsors, I just want to say thank you to Kiki Creations and Infinitely Me. Our sponsors have just truly been a true backbone to this series five, I should say, season five of Let's Talk About You. And I just want to say thank you to our sponsors. Let's see what's new and what they have to offer. Thank you, sponsors Infinitely Me and Kiki Creations. Now, on for what we're all here for to see three phenomenal local men that are impactful here in the Virgin Islands. And they said yes to be guests, to have a real down to earth conversation with me. And let's talk about you. First, my first guest, Mr. Albert Francis. My second guest, Mr. Paul Smalls. And my
Good
third guest,
afternoon.
Mr. Langley Shazor. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk About You. Father's Day blessings to you guys. Thank you for saying yes and being guests on my first male panel. I just feel so extra special. So we're going to start with you two, Mr. Shazar, Mr. Smalls. First, I want you, Mr. Smalls, just to tell our listening audience more about you. I know you're the IT tech person, but just tell those that don't know who you are and what you do.
Well, to begin with, I was born here at St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. Um, my mom, she's from Tortola. Her name is Doris Smalls. And my dad, who is deceased now, he was from St. John. So I have a little bit of the three islands in me. And so when you look at the topology between the islands, I kind of know my way around all three very well. Um, I I work for the Department of Education as a system analyst too. I do work with electronics, with networking, with anything to do with technology. My hands are in it. Um, I have three beautiful kids, lovely wife, and we do what we do to make it possible for our kids to thrive in these Virgin Islands, as you know how things are in our islands. So yeah, I try my best to raise them and do the right thing by them. But that's me. I'm always busy, always on the go, and I know you're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Very busy, and if my mom and my
And
sisters
Crystal
and
said,
everyone,
"Happy Father's Day, Dad."
if they're watching, they would tell you the same thing. I always busy, but it's busy for a good busy.
Mr. Shazar, thank you so much. I know that you're an author. Um, you do a column in the VI Source, but tell us, those that don't know, about Mr. Langley Shazar.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you, and happy Father's Day to the fathers on this panel, as well as the fathers that will be watching this. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm a transplant. I've been in the Virgin Islands just over 3 years, and I come from an education background. So I was a former middle school teacher. I worked with a lot of nonprofits, an advocate for arts, an advocate for education, and so I just tried to bring that to the islands. And one thing that I'm adamant about is that nothing changes but the location. So all the things that I'm trying to accomplish in the islands are not different from what I was trying to do in the States. It's just now I have a different set of young people to try and inspire and encourage, uplift, and to try and lead, because that is what we're here to do. I put that out this morning on my post, is that it doesn't matter what your relationship is, what that dynamic is, how that dynamic transformed and transpired. But if you have an opportunity to help a young person, then that is what we've been called to do. So I'm just thankful to be in a new community, a community that has embraced me, and that I can hopefully leave a positive impact in.
Well, welcome. You're already a seasoned, soiled person here in the Virgin Islands. So we thank you for what it is that you came here to give us more of you and, make our islands better. So thank you. And one thing that's really interesting about you to me, I know Albert is having some technical issues. You guys are definitely staples in the community because you all want to give back and you all give back and you believe in the power of each one teach one and you're strong male role models. Now, I know that in this day and age it's all and I may be over a little bit because one thing that I was doing, and Crystal, you don't need to put this part up yet. When I was reading your part of your book, Mr. Shazar, Baby Daddy, Changing the Narrative, and I was like, that is just so ideal and profound because that's what we need to do. We need to change the narrative. We need the men, no matter what. We need to have the men. That's what makes us the mothers and so forth. It's a collaborative effort. No matter what the relationship is afterwards, it's a collaborative effort. So, in changing the narrative, Paul, you can answer this, and Mr. Shazar, you can join in at any time. What are some of the challenges that you have faced being a father and in this society or in this day and age right now? And I know that you've been close to your parents, so I know your father has shared his stories with being a father then. So, do you want to tell us some of the challenges that you've had?
Well, to be honest with you, um, my I didn't really have any real challenges to face growing up because my mom and my dad was always there for me 100%. Um, they they made sure I did all the right things, and so going forward, it was easy for me to do the right things by my children. So I wouldn't say that I had challenges, but I know in today's society there's lots of challenges that you know, for instance, um, single parenting. A lot of times um, that don't work out too well because when you have one parent alone trying to instill discipline in the child and there's no discipline coming from the other side, it's usually a wash. It usually doesn't work out too well. And and with that being said, it would be nice if we could break the stigma of having one parent home and let's try to do the right thing and have both parents in the house working hard. And both parents in the house, sometimes it's rough, but you could work through those roughness and make things work, but you just have to be willing.
Mr.
So
Suzal, what's your take on that?
I definitely agree. And the one thing I would add is I grew up in a two-parent household. But what I will say, and I talk about this in my book, is that my father, being someone who served in the Marines and in our service, and he came from a different era and a different type of upbringing. And so, not to say anything negative, we have a great relationship. But even though I had both parents, my dad wasn't they weren't against those things, and so he couldn't pass them down to me. And so it was a lot of work and internally in order for me to get to a place where I could pass those very important lessons and those very important skills onto my son and onto my daughter as well. Being able to communicate, being able to effectively understand your emotions and then convey those appropriately. Those are things that were very challenging for me personally. And I think that when we talk about the two parent household, both parents have to be present and engaged and involved in order for that to be a very balanced and positive relationship and a positive atmosphere for our children.
agree.
Yes, sounds
I do
great.
hear stories that even though it's a two home um, parenting, sometimes one parent is a present parent and the other parent is just there. But the other question, hi Albert, I'm glad that you were able to come on. And this is for, I'm going to start with Albert with this question. How is becoming a father um, change your perspective on masculinity and what it means to be a man?
Well,
Because
as
I
a
think,
girl dad, I had
fathers
to
be strong and stern and don't show the affection because you have to know how it is to be hard. So, what
you
is
have
your
to.
take?
Well, actually, I grew up in my household. My father and mom, and two of them showed affection, saying "I love you," and kissed each other on the cheek and stuff. Whether it's my father or my mother. So I already had that built in that I know it's okay to be, loving and show it, in different ways. So um, it was easy for me to be able to be a girl dad because of that. I was able to just have it be a natural thing and knowing that I'm her first male, positive role model if I could have one. So it was a good easy transition for me, and I was ready for being a father. As far as wondering about it prior to becoming a father, I started to feel like I wonder what it would be like to be a dad. So I had a receptive, mindset to it. So that helped a lot too.
That's a great point. I do want to jump back in because you brought up something that's very important, and that's something that I talk about in my books, and something that I'm really trying to work on with our young men, especially young black men. Is that vulnerability, that transparency, that being able to be in touch with your emotion. I grew up in a household where that it was very much the do push-ups, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. No one's going to care about how you feel, and that's a hard thing to overcome because society has pretty much groomed us all to think that way. So that's something that we have to continue to work on. So it's good to hear that you were able to have that growing up and see that growing up because that definitely gave you a leg up on being able to be more emotionally adept and emotionally understanding and being able to be that girl dad because that was something that I had to kind of learn on the fly. And it was difficult to get comfortable with myself first before I could even begin to help my children understand how to convey their emotions.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
want to
So
say happy.
you're
I want to. Oh, sorry.
go ahead,
Oh,
Albert.
I was just saying happy Father's Day to Langley and Paul. Also, I was saying that earlier, but I don't know if anybody heard me back then. But just officially happy Father's Day to you both. I'm happy to be here with you guys being interviewed. So yeah, and giving
Happy,
gratitude too, like being open with your emotions is good because it lets it's safe to have a person that could express themselves and know how to, just convey good feelings, good thoughts to each other. And then even if it's not good thoughts, but do it in a constructive way that helps each person grow. I told my daughter when she was young, whenever I do anything that might be not the best, not to take that as a trait to move forward for yourself as a lady looking for a positive male person in your life. If it's a negative, leave it alone, and only the positive parts you could take. Even though I'm your dad, it doesn't make everything I do like right, So I told her to be aware that even me as a male, being a father, I would get get wrong or do not the quite the best way, but don't take that trait as far as a good trait to think about for the future. Leave that alone. Work on run with the positive things that I might do, so you could see I'm open to knowing what I could be wrong or right, and not have you pass that on as far as what to look for. Yeah.
Exactly. Is everyone a girl dad?
I would say
I know
yes.
Yes.
Paul and Albert are.
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
So let
So
me just let me piggyback off of Albert a little bit, right? So
yeah.
in in my home where we grew up with mom and dad, um, like I said, the love was always there. I never see them fight. I never see them fuss. And whatever they did it to the best for their children. Everything that they did. If my mother would go to the yard to pick a banana, my father would be right there in the yard picking the banana with her. They'd be down in the yard together. Everything they did together. So showing the affection and the love, you know, because I've seen it, so it's easy for me to impart it to my kids, to my wife. It's easy for me to impart it on them because I've seen it. That's why I grew up knowing. So, again, when Albert was saying about um, not taking the negative things, I try my best also not to, you know, get my kids, get into the negative stuff. And I would always be there for them. I always tell them, I would rather you come to me and be your sounding board than you go to somebody else who don't have a clue as to what it is they're trying to tell you. It's always best to come from your
I
parents.
love that. Yes.
It's always the best to come from your parents. Because when it doesn't come from your parents, you don't know for a fact that you're getting what you're really supposed to get from what you really supposed to have gotten from your parents. So I would say, yeah, what I'm saying makes real sense. And it is what it is. When you grow up doing well and knowing well, you should always be able to do well yourself.
I agree with that. And you brought a good point because it went straight into my other question based on the societal norms, based on gender, and everyone here is a girl dad. And so in what ways have societal expectations or the gender norms impacted the way you fathered having a girl child? I mean, I know you can't compare it to a boy child, but based on that, how have you navigated the pressures, those pressures? Because I know it can be easy.
I didn't get that last part.
I said, how has societal expectations impacted your experiences based on being a girl dad?
You come in broken. I really can't. I'm not
You know,
really
they have
getting
a
what.
gender because you're a girl dad, because you're the father of females. There totally there's some gender norms. With girls, you do this. With boys, you do that. How has
Mhm.
that stereotype, societal stereotype based on gender, impacted your fatherhood? How you parent as a father? Because you have a set of rules for girls and there's a set of rules for boys.
Well, for me, with my kids, they were easy. because um, they always looked up to me for inspiration. They always would ask me questions. Sometimes I think they ask me questions they didn't even ask their mother sometimes. But as being a daddy's girl, you expect some of that. So we would have conversations, but my expectations for my kids were well put together out there. It was basically very good expectations of my kids, and what they did is they allowed me to be the father that I needed to be without having any pressures, trying to show them what the right thing was to do. And I never really had to put any real pressure on my kids because they know what they have to do. They know when they come to school, work, play, whatever, they knew what they had to do. And so I never really had any rough times with my kids because I would always speak to them openly. Always. Tell them, listen, this is what to expect on the road. This is what will happen if you do this. This is what will happen if you do that. And trust me, those kids only had to look at my facial expressions and knew that they were doing something wrong. And they would change it right away.
Well, that's good. So you weren't the parent that said, well, because I'm raising girls, this will be your set of rules because you're a girl child. I know, as I said, because you don't have a male child, you didn't have it to compare to. But in society, you've had conversations and dialogues with friends based on, I have a boy, so a boy can do this, but the girls, they're only limited to this. Did you put any limitations on your daughters because they were females?
Well, oh,
I,
well,
I
I have,
Go ahead, Albert.
if you put your mind to something, it's just a matter of the capabilities. Is not about female or male. It's whatever interest you had. You could go for it. I showed her whatever I would do. So as a father, I could only show her male things that I would say male things, but things that I would do. In like just in well, I should say by chance, me being a male. So um, she would try to help me fix my car with myself. It used to be really interesting. But I never really put that sex based kind of mindset on things. I would just keep things real with her and just honest. I think it's a misconception that something has to be male or female. It could just be a general good set of advice or things that you would just teach them, whether it's how to change a flat.
Right. And one thing, Paul, that I want to mention, and I know the others are having, we lost WAPA, and WAPA has been a blessing, and they said they fixed it. So thank you, WAPA. But one thing that I want to talk about also, June is also mental health awareness month. We know that it's Father's Day today, but this month already has been dedicated to men and their mental health. I know a lot of persons, still people, still have a stigma that I'm good. You don't talk about it, it doesn't exist, or but men tend not to share much. Do you want to elaborate on that, Paul?
Um, well, I do share. I do share. Sometimes you won't share at the time that you're going through whatever you're going through because a lot of times, you know, it's still going through a thought process in your mind. And so, but sharing usually be what happens. I'm a long thinker. If I'm going through something, because I'm technically inclined. So if I have a problem that's facing me, I usually think about it, go sleep on it, wake up, and then by morning, with the first thoughts on my mind, I usually conquer whatever my issues are. But it's a thought process. But you know, mentally, I I would say I'm good mentally. But I know a lot of guys like to hold on because they think it's a macho man thing. They hold on to it and they don't ever let it go. But sometimes, if you uptight about something and something is bothering you mentally, you should get it out because at the end of the day, if it's something like that bothering you, it affects your performance. It affects a lot of things with your life. It affects how you talk to other people.
I agree. It is a trickle event. So, and I'm glad to hear that you do believe in letting it out and having someone to talk to, and that your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And I hope you believe that as well.
I do. As a matter of
Good.
fact, as a matter of fact, right? When I sometimes if I'm not feeling good, I'll usually say, man, maybe I'll just stay home today and chill out. And then my mind will start playing on me, and then my wife will look at me and she say, well, Paul, um, I just I just book you for a massage, or um, let's go to the doctor today to see what's going on with you. If you know things like that, and like I say, having a two parents in a house usually helps with situations rather than one just suffering and going through by themselves.
Good. Albert, we were talking about the importance of mental health because June is also Mental Health Awareness Month. So, do you take breaks for yourself? Do you take time to take care of your mental health so you can be a better father, a better person just for you? Because,
Yeah.
once you're not good, the kids pick up on it.
Yes, of course. I every day I take time for myself. I go to regular counseling actually too, from like way back when she was like 3 to 4 years old. And I still do it up to I have an appointment on Tuesday as a matter of fact. Just to go and check in and see how I'm doing and just talk about life. So I was like open to it. I realized it was something I needed, of course, as a person and then as a father as well. So and yeah, so I'm very open about being able to go and just like have an object, we call it unbiased kind of person to listen to you and just tell them how you feel and see what they have to tell you as far as that goes, and just guide you through like good times of course, and not so good times. So yeah, I'm totally for it. Is a great thing, a good tool. Yeah, so it's important because, like you said, the more balanced I could be, the better she will be able to, get the best of me. And if not, again, you let them know that it's important to go and check in with someone professional, and whether it's a counselor or actual psychiatrist or someone else that is of trusting, more wise background to help them through anything or help me through anything that I may be going through. So yeah, it's very important. So yeah, just like a car needs a tune-up, you need tune-ups every so often as well, mentally and physically, with a checkup and check in with a counselor for emotional support. So yeah, and I grew up in my household with two parents also. So same like Paul, I never saw them argue in my whole life. So that was a good background to see how you could live in a home together and make it work, and just be a team. Yeah. So thank God for that. So I hope that answered your question. Okay.
So we have a question from
So
our audience. How do you feel about sharing your emotions as a dad? How do you feel about sharing your emotions with
oh
your kids, friends, as well as your partners, and things like that? As a father, how easy is it or how difficult sometimes? Just share with us how you feel about sharing your personal emotions and how important is it to you to share your emotions?
Well, I think it's very important because that could a kind of understanding of why you might seem a bit, not right by explaining to them, maybe not in detail, depending on what it is, but you know, to let them know, like when, like, in it could have an effect on how you probably move through the wall, and interact with others. So, and the importance of how if you don't check in with someone, it could impact when you're not aware of even what's going on, to help yourself or to get help.
It is important to get mental health. It is so important, and I am such an advocate of that. So it's good to know that, Paul, that you take time to pause and refresh, and that you have that support of your wife and your family to always be there. And I'm glad to know that, Albert takes the time to see someone that can help, he can talk to and deal with mental issues, because every day there's always a situation, and traversing the life, even if you're a single person, is not easy, much less having a relationship and having children. So with your pause, and your time that you take to navigate, to make sure that you're coherent or that you can handle things and taking a break, what are some of the advices or that you would tell someone when they feel overwhelmed and they feel like they're too macho to speak to someone, and you know that this person is going through? What is some advice you would give that person?
Well, the first thing I would tell them is to break that macho-ness. They need to break that because at the end of the day, they're the one that's going to be affected the most. They're the one going to be, you know, down in the hole for whatever
Mhm.
reason. So they need to break that macho-ness and find someone that would at least sit down and listen, even if it's for 5 minutes, you know. And then I would also tell them to retreat to the things that they like the most. Sometimes taking a break doesn't mean that you just go home and you lay down, you go to bed and sleep. Um, Maybe taking a trip to the beach, maybe taking some time out for yourself. Um, Me, I'm gonna tell you what I like, and people might find it funny and might find it humorous, right? But I I grew up doing electronics, and when I'm doing that, I'm in another zone. I'm I'm not thinking about anything else. Um, even though there's a problem to be solved, it's something that I like to do. I love my car, my little Corolla. I would go out and take a little time and give my car a little wash off or whatever. Take a little ride down the road, play a little music, you know, do things to get away. But for the most part, um, you just have to get away from the norm. You got to get away from the norm and just try to do something for yourself. Um, recently, when recently, um, my daughter Destiny looked at me about almost like 6 months ago and said, "Dad, you know, you look a little beat up. We need to take a break." Um, normally, normally, Destiny don't say that to me. So when she says that to me, I know that something isn't looking right or something is not right. Next thing I heard, Daddy, we book you a room for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come back home on Sunday. So we went on a little retreat, and let me tell you, that was one of the best things that happened. One of the best things, I was able to get some rest. I didn't have to hear any external voices. I didn't have to hear anybody tell me anything. I need to do any work. I didn't have no pressures on me for anything. And so for that, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say to Destiny right now while I have her, and I'm sure she's looking. that I really thank her for doing that, because I didn't see it myself. And a lot of times you don't see these things yourself until someone is looking at you. And then when you look at yourself in the mirror, you stop and you take a look at yourself in the mirror, you realize that, hey, something is up. If they're telling you something is up, it's time to do something about it. And if you don't do something about it, you don't pay the ultimate price. And for like single moms and single dads, you know, raising children, you know, my question is, what can they do? And there should be a question to them: what can you do to get away from all the noise, just for a moment, just so you could be at peace?
Well,
Just
I believe that just like how the kids have a village, everyone needs a village. Now, Langley, I'm so glad that you're back. WAPA has been beautiful to us today. We're talking about mental health, and June being also June being Mental Health Awareness Month for males. And are there any
Mhm.
tools that you do to assist with your mental health?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a big one. I'm an advocate for therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy, and I want to say that you don't have to have anything going on per se to want to seek professional advice or professional support. One thing that I've discovered is that the objective view, the unbiased view, helps you see things in yourself that you wouldn't otherwise be able to recognize. And so it doesn't have to be something that's catastrophic. It doesn't have to be you being in emotional distress to want to have someone who's not connected to the things that are going on in your life, good and bad. And so I'm a big advocate for therapy. I'm a big advocate for taking time away. You were talking about stepping away and having that time to yourself. That's also very important. Finding hobbies, doing things that you enjoy. A lot of men are quantified and qualified by what they can do for other people, for their spouses, their significant others, their children. And we get so caught up what we have to do, right, as men, quote unquote, and what our responsibilities are, that we neglect ourselves, we neglect our interests, we neglect the things that drive us and fulfill us, and we oftentimes lose ourselves. And again, it's not something that we do purposely, but we are so focused on what we have to be doing, or whatever the other goals are, whatever the needs are, other individuals that we are responsible for, that we forget to take care of ourselves. So those are some of the things that I adamant about. Very fun. Find hobbies and things you enjoy for yourself. It's great to have someone that you can do things with. My partner and I, we do all kind of stuff together. We train together. We go and have adventures together. She's wonderful support, and so it's great. But there's also things that I enjoy outside of that relationship. There's things that I enjoy outside of my children's relationship. There's things that I enjoy outside of my friends. There's things I enjoy outside of work, obviously. Those things keep me both grounded and also give me balance. And so those are things that I would certainly want to convey to anybody who's going to be listening to this, is to find things for you specifically. Just things for you, not things for you in conjunction with somebody else. Just things for you that you like. And those things will help you take a step back from whatever's happening in your life, take a step back from whatever's happening in the world around you, and allow you to get recharged, to get refocused, and then you can re-engage.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree with that. That you have to step out, and thank you guys for that. And I'm so happy that each one of you believe in the power of therapy. Each one of you believe in the power of stepping back and getting yourself together. Because you know, when you're empty, you can't help yourself. Grandpa, you have to step in to help you and say, "Daddy, you need this." So it's good. Just like kids need villages, adults need villages too. I truly believe that. And let's get also into the conversation about, as we're talking about daddy issues. Langley, I want to talk about your book, Baby Daddy, Changing the Narrative. Let's talk about that, because that in itself is a great conversation. We could have just had the whole piece on that. Let's talk about that.
Well, thank you for reading it. It's one of the more impactful, I believe, one of the more impactful pieces that I've written. It's my seventh book, but this was one that really struck a chord with me based on my experience as a dad trying to figure out fatherhood, but also dealing with a lot of other young men, both in my circle and outside of my circle, who are trying to understand and negotiate fatherhood. And there's a lot of things that this book talks about. There's a lot of things that we cover in this book, but the book is meant to be not only challenging and not only piercing, but encouraging. This is from my personal life. I talk a lot about things that I didn't do well as a parent, a lot of the things that I messed up trying to be a dad, but it wasn't as much about being a dad in the beginning as it was trying to figure out who I wanted to be as a person. And then you had to put fatherhood into the equation. So I was still struggling with trying to become a better man, trying to become a better person, and then I had to figure out also how to be a better parent on top of right. A lot of the times I didn't get it right at all. And I thought I was doing a certain thing well. I talk about the fact that in the value of hard work, to have them around to see it. I was so busy working that I wasn't present with them, whether that be physically or so, they came over, but I wasn't, or to be somewhere. And so, yeah, good money. I have what is a semblance of success, but I'm missing all these other things with my children. So the book about changing the narrative is about looking at the things that men have been doing perfectly, a lot of bad things that we don't talk about, and putting back the lessons. We between women and for a lot of the comfortable conversations and unpleasant tools that we have been given, we have put those on ourselves. As that's the reality. If we're supposed to change the narrative, we have to look at ourselves. Where have we been deficient as men, as partners, and as parents, and where can we start to turn the tide and make the adjustments and make the changes? That's really what this book is about. At its core, is
Yeah.
the recognition that guess what, I haven't really been doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and as much as we want to point fingers at the other person or the system or whatever, there's an inherent responsibility and accountability to our own issues, anguish, and situations that we have to account for that, right? We have to step up and say, you know what, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I should have been better here. And it's not to wallow in that, it's not to beat yourself up, but it's to bring awareness to an area where you can become better.
Agreed. And that's exactly what I saw it as, a self awareness. So Paul, I want to include you in this conversation as well. So just based on the title of the book, Changing the Narrative, and because all three of you are successful men, and I know that you want to provide for your family. And a lot of times, as Mr. Shazar said, his father was there, but they didn't have a the bond that he would have liked to. And he was a great man. He was a positive man. He was in the military, but and Mr. Shazar also stated that he had to do some work on himself because he too was chasing that career and being the breadwinner. So being the breadwinner, and you want to provide, and you want your girls, your significant others to have the best life. How do you feel that your narrative has changed? That you had to Did you have to do a self check or a self evaluation and analysis and to reel things in?
Well, I don't really have to do a self check because they self check me. Basically, um, Daddy, we ain't going to work tonight. We're going to the movies. And when I'm not around and I have to work, my wife usually have to step in and deal with whatever's going on in that situation since I'm the breadwinner. But um, I was told a couple of times, well, hey, you need to slow down, you need to take a pause, you need to do more with the kids and stuff like that. And you know, it is what it is. When you get in that zone, it is a Shazar said, when you get in that zone, you're going, you know, you don't stop to self check yourself a lot of times, but when that time comes and you realize that hey, This is what I've been doing, because you have to reflect. And once you reflect and you realize that, hey, you got to you got to do something better, you got to make a change, because what you're doing ain't 100%. You know, you got to do
So,
something.
but
You
were you
can't.
open to it, or you figured, why are you telling me this? I'm providing for you. Were you open to that self
At,
check
at,
for them
at
calling
first,
you out?
at first I was not. I wasn't open to it at first, because I always feel like I just needed to be out there, just going at it. So it was almost like like when you hooked on drugs. Basically, you're doing what you're doing, but you just everything else could just stay in the back. That's basically how I used to roll at first. It's like, I got to get this done. Um, every phone call that would come in, I had something to do, and a lot of times my kids wasn't the beneficiary of the sweet that they should have gotten. A lot of times they were beneficiary of the sour of what I didn't do at the time that they wanted it done. So yes, I could safely say that, yeah, I was a busybody. I didn't I wasn't there for them 100%, but at the tail end, I too was trying to at the time I too was trying to grow my own business. I was trying to get things going for me, because once it get going for me, it would also be going for my family. So, and in these times right now, if you don't have something as a breadwinner to say that you're doing, then what are you doing? So
What
I would
about you,
say,
Albert?
okay,
Well, for me, I was glad that I had a job that I have, because the schedule gave me so much time to be there for my daughter that it never conflicted, and we could get overtime, but it's not a guarantee. But what I did to like upscale my income is just like go after promotions, so I would get an increase in pay, like by a good margin, so I would still retain my time off, but be able to provide even better, but just still retain the quality of work-life balance. So I promote family time. Really, I guess it's because of how I guess I'm wired, but whatever you could call it, I realize that you need to have time for yourself to enjoy the money apart from making it. And sometimes the trade-off is you mightn't have the ability to have as much things that you would like, but the time with your family is a big important part of the equation of life that creates that quality of life and the sweetness and the memories. So I sometimes would turn down over times just to be able to be with my daughter's mom when we were together. So I recognize the importance of, you never know what's going to happen, and today is the day to appreciate what you have going on and live in the moment. So I'm a very big live in the moment guy. So I appreciate spending time with my daughter when I can. Whoever is in my life that is important to me, I like love to enjoy time with them. So it wasn't really an issue for me, thank God. So I think I guess I was lucky because of the schedule, and I think that's the biggest part that helped me. My work schedule, it gave me a lot of time to be there and not have to be conflicted, because I know all of us would want to be there if we could, but you have to think about the bottom line at the end of the day when it comes to
And it's
providing, like you said.
balance.
So yeah, but I
And
had a
Miss,
big plus for me. Yeah.
yes, that's important. Mr. Shazar, I know that you can get your book on Amazon, but what are other ways can men or just women on a whole? Because I think even though this is dedicated to men, I got so much from it my own self because I put myself in it. So it was like a self check, and I was like, yeah, I see that, I do that. How can we, or any of the listening audience, get a copy of your book, Baby Daddy Changing the Narrative?
So certainly the best way is going to be Amazon, simply because they'll print it and ship it directly to you wherever you are in the world. So that's going to be the best way. I don't have any copies with me for those who are in the Virgin Islands. I do plan to order some and have some in hand, and obviously be able to autograph those once that time comes. But that book and several of the other books, I have another one that's called. It's a men's devotional, 60 Days of the Casual Word. It's another one that I feel that was geared toward men, but I think it works for both men and women, and they have an opportunity to glean from it. So there's several books out. Most of them are inspiration, some of them are poetry, but they all come from a place of personal experience. They all come from a place from personal growth and personal challenge. So this is not me standing in an ivory tower at any point trying to tell someone how to live, but simply my perception based on the life that I've lived. And the best way to get any books is going to be on Amazon, but I will be working on getting copies and having copies in hand for those who are in the Virgin Islands. And if you're not in the Virgin Islands, once I have those copies, I'll make an announcement. I'll be more than happy to autograph one and send it to you.
Yeah, because I think that's a Bible, especially for the young people that you mentor as well. Just like a guiding point and some pointers to how they can navigate and not make the same mistakes that we did because we're working to be make everyone else better. So, in addition to working to make everyone else better, and there is generally, I'm going to say there's a bravado mannerism about men that you don't need. And when you're giving advice, it's like I can't take it because I'm a man. I know what I need. You may need that, but I know what I need because I'm a man. I'm just telling you based on things that I've heard. I just wrote little pointers and snippets of comments that men have made because they think they're too proud of. I know that you guys spoke briefly about giving other men advice, but how have you felt hesitant to express how you feel in certain situations because you may think it may show a sign of weakness, or not necessarily you, but a friend?
Well,
Have you
I
felt
don't care about
hesitant in
being looked
And
at.
expressing yourself? I'm sorry.
Oh, not at all. I don't care who thinks what about me. You either let it out or it could kill you. So if I need help, I'll tell you I need help. If I need a hug, I'll tell you I need a hug. I don't got time for for that, because that's the difference between life and death, or even wellness and not feeling well. Just if you don't feel well, just say it. And if like you're feeling vulnerable in some kind of way, hey, we are human. And to me, the more you level with yourself and people, the better life you have.
That's good to know. That's
Yeah,
good to know.
yeah.
So tell us about your mentorship group, Mr. Shazar, because you said that you mentor um, individuals. Tell us about your mentorship group, Langley. Barbara is just doing great things here to us today.
Yeah.
Okay. So Paul, I know that you've worked with young people because I was blessed to mentor both your daughter, well, three of your daughters and Albert's daughter. So I know that I was blessed to have a part in their lives. And thank you, men, gentlemen, for entrusting me. And
And thank you.
are there young people that are in your lives, young men that are in your lives that you mentor or speak to ever so often to assist them in navigating them in how
Uh,
they should live?
yes. Actually, I I was able to grasp a couple of guys well, and to be honest with you, the guys that I've came in contact with, they're right now they're doing. I would say they're doing well. I have one gentleman in particular always wanted to be in the street, and I would try to encourage him to get a job or whatever, and he was like, "Nah, Paul, like okay." And then something happened in his life. I won't disclose that now, but then he changed his mind. He was able to work with me during one summer, and then the hurricanes came, After he worked for me, I taught him the whole thing about doing networking and making cables and fixing computers and all that kind of stuff. And then after the hurricane, he was like, Paul, um, I'm trying to get a job because right now there's nothing going on since the hurricane came. And I was able to help him get a job, and I was able to mentor him through a lot of stuff that he was going through. I got him off the street, get him out of the drugs, and all that kind of good stuff. And now he's doing really well for himself. I have I have mentored
Yay.
I have mentored gentlemen, right?
Yes, great.
Some guys right now that half of them I really don't remember what all I've done for them. But it had one fellow in particular. I had my two bags and my two roller bags going to St. John to a school to do some work. And he saw me on the boat. When we got to St. John, he walked up to me. He said, Paul, no, he said, Mr. Smalls, where are you going? I'm saying, I'm going right up there to the school. He said, can I take your bags for you? I said, yes. I said, but why? He said, if you only knew what you did for my life. And I don't even recall it.
Mm.
So that's another instance. So I pride myself with trying to work with folks to get them to go on the right path. And I also tell you, I always also encourage them to get to church. Most guys that's on the street always forget about church or what church can do for them mentally. Just listening to the word when it's being preached. Listen, look like building your own little, for the lack of a better word, your little organization within the church. Because when you get to know people and you get to know what they're doing and they impart their knowledge on you and you impart your knowledge on them, they get to you to make you a better person. So you become well rounded in that environment. But the most important thing for me is reaching out. I have a couple of guys right now I'm reaching out to, doing the same thing, and they're fighting me, but eventually they're going to come because I'm persistent. Every time I meet them, I greet them, and I always tell them, listen, you know, when you're going to come to go to church with me. And so I'm working on the guys. If they're looking at this, they know who they are. Okay, and I'm sure they're looking at it because I actually see it
What
in the.
about you, Albert? Are there some young men that you
Yeah,
have taken
well,
under your wing? Bring your camera down so we can see your face.
yes, yes, um, I was able to. I did an interview. I was able to, have a young man that I knew through his dad from when he was like a preteen. One person in particular, and I would always just take to him because I never had a son, actual biological son. So I would always like see him, and like when they're that young, you feel like they look up to you for a reason. They just have a little cool, happy demeanor. So I would always do things like, give him something that, he saw that I had that he liked over the years. And he said to me, I used to always wonder, like, after he got a little older, why would I do that? And he said, he questioned me about it. I told him why. And then he said, now he does the same thing. And he said, thank you for like giving me that kind of like, viewpoint of like asana things or even just being kind to somebody just for being kind, and it kind of gave him like a trait that he enjoys now doing what I used to do before and knowing that it's coming from a good place, and of course his dad knew everything that I would do or maybe not, but me and his dad are cool, but it was just like a good like positive vibe because I kind of saw him as like a little me, a little young, happy, lucky person that was just inspired by the way I carried myself, and there's other young men that have come up that they have told me that you don't know that I used to watch the way you carry yourself, so I guess in an indirect way, people would tell me, but not formally that I've been involved with like a young men's group or anything, but just by being myself, I would get comments over the years from different young persons, like saying, I always like the way you carry yourself in your car, or even the way you just as a person, just in general. So it's like you make an impact by just being yourself and doing love, you know. So
And that's
I think it,
excellent.
yeah.
So, Mr. Shazar,
So
can you tell us about some of the young men that you've mentored?
Oh, absolutely. It's been mostly young men that I've had the pleasure of encountering in a multitude of situations. Some of were interns when I worked with the legislature. Others have just come across me in passing, if you will. I've been at events, or I've been at certain different types of situations, different places, and they've just kind of come up and just been curious. I also work with a lot of organizations that deal with young people, Sparks in particular. We went to Orlando and took some kids on college tours, and I had never met any of these children. But by the time we ended the trip, I probably got like 4 or 5 more young men that are, that call me every day, that text me, they come to the gym. So it's really about being the person that I would like to see out of them. We talk about how you emulate and how you become what you see, and not only from a nature standpoint or a nurturing standpoint, from an evolutionary standpoint. So I realized early on that I had to dress away, speak away, conduct myself away if I wanted to not only put myself in positions for success, but also to be a representation of the kind of young person and the kind of caliber of man that I wanted to see in our young people. I remember going to a event a long time ago, and it was West, and they were speaking about poverty in this small town that I was visiting. And I'd read a lot of James Baldwin. I'd read a lot of things from Malcolm X, a lot of things from several other prominent individuals from that civil rights era, people that I was really fond of. And remembering when I saw them speak, the light bulb going off and saying, that's the kind of person that I want to be. That's the kind of respect that I want to garner when I walk in a room. And so I immediately started to understand how to make the changes internally. And then I want to always be a representative of that. Right? So everything that I do is to show our young men that there is a way other than what they've been doing that will get them the respect that they're seeking and get them to places that otherwise they may not be able to go into.
Yes, I love it. Thank you guys so much. I can't believe it's been an hour that we've been having this conversation. But before we wrap up, I want, and this question I love to ask everyone just to see their point of view. But what would you tell Mr. Shazar, young Langley, based on where you are today? What would you tell him?
That it is a journey and it's not a destination. That is the biggest thing that I've learned, is that you don't arrive anywhere. You simply get to a place where there's going to be new challenges. There's going to be new things that you have to pivot, and new places that you have to adjust yourself, and new challenges that you're going to have to deal with, obstacles you have to deal with internally and externally. So what I would tell a younger version of myself is just stay the course, because it's about the journey. The journey is the most important part. And that's the part that we have to focus on. Where so many of us get to a place where we are looking at whatever the goal is, whatever the plateau is, whatever that thing is that we have, that we're holding up on a pedestal, right? We're trying to get to that, whatever that looks like, and we neglect the importance of all the things that happen while we're trying to get there. And so that's what I would tell that younger version of myself.
Good. And Paul, what would Mr. Smalls tell Paul Smalls?
what what I would tell, not the younger person of myself, but what I would tell the young folks out there is, with all of the distractions and all of the bad things that are happening, you know, those destinations don't have to be yours. Like I said, there are other things that you can do to, and there are other individuals out there that can, give you some knowledge, give you some understanding, and it's really up to you whether you take it yes or no. The outcome becomes what you put into it. Um, if 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 you don't, if you settle for doing the bad stuff and you don't want to do the good stuff, then that's when I'm gonna encourage you to do the good stuff, and try to make your life more pleasing, because at the end of the day, you have to mentor somebody when you get older. And what is that mentoring going to look like? So you have to train yourself from now to be able to grow. And if you watch me for an example, fine, because when I go out in the street, I don't be doing nothing bad. I ain't killing nobody. I ain't having no drugs. I ain't doing none of that stuff. So if you're looking for example, yeah, look at me. You could even come to me and ask me for advice. I'm willing to give it. And with Mr. Shazar there, he already have a book together and stuff like that. If you come to me, I'm sure Camela's going to link us up at some point in time um, as far as addresses and phone numbers and stuff. I have somewhere to send you now. So if you come to me and my advice ain't good enough for you, then I have somewhere else I can send you for better advice, or for advice from somebody that's been in the trenches. You know, obviously Mr. Shazar, after he spoke about how his father brought him up and stuff like that, he grew up with his father. He grew up different to how I grew up. And so he may have deeper thoughts. He may have because they may be going through more traumatized stuff that I've been going through, that I never let's put it this way, that I never went through. So I really can't teach them about coming through out of the trauma to get to where they're going, but I can lead them to somebody else that could get them where they need to go. And so, you know, our streets of St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John, we have we have a lot of children here that needs to know about the right way. Um, I don't see them as much. Sometimes when you go to church, you don't see them out as much. But if you go to a party, you see them all the way out there having a good old time. And then a lot of times these are the kids that you don't get to. You don't. They don't. They get in trouble. They never had a chance to experience good things. They never had a chance to meet anybody like Mr. Shazam, who could actually offer them good advice. They won't. A lot of times they won't come out. Sometimes we got to go and get them.
Hmm. Hmm.
We
That's
have
a
to
great
find
point.
we have to go to where they are and get them. You know what I mean? Sometimes if we don't go out there and reach out to them, they never gonna know better. They're gonna figure out what they're doing is all they know. But
Yep.
if you could send them someplace, you know, we talk about mental health, we talk about physical health, we talk about Mr. Shazad that has a book that speaks to a lot of these things that we should be imparting on our kids. And then we should be leading by example. Like I was saying, if they approach me, I'm always going to be respectable. I'm always going to try to get them to go on the right road. I'm not going never go negative with them. So my thing is again, you know, let's get them to go down the right path if we can. Let's catch them where we can get them. Let's get them in their places. We have to do that. Let's be respectful. If you see them talking to you disrespectful, let's get them to bend somehow to realize that disrespect is not better than respect. And once they get respect and they learn respect, then they tend to do better things going on down the road.
If
Thank
I
you
can,
for that.
I'm
Go
sorry, if
ahead.
I
Go
could
ahead.
plug in one thing, yeah, because you hit something, Paul, that is so important that I think all of the people who are watching this need to understand is that individuals like myself, yourself, Mr. Francis, and others who have not on this podcast, but that we've encountered, we are willing to give you the advice. We are approachable. We are willing to take you under our wing. We are willing to support you. We are willing to help you get wherever you're going. We don't know what you need. We can't read your mind. So don't be afraid to approach us. I want to tip my hat to all the young men who've approached me that I've now built relationships with because they were curious about how I carried myself. And I want to encourage you all to continue to do that. Whenever you see any of us, please come up and say something because we don't know. We don't know who you are and we don't know what you need. We don't know what you're struggling with. We don't know what your goals are. But if you bring that information to us, we will certainly do everything that we can to assist you.
Thank you. Yes. I mean, I too was going to do a summary, but you guys just summed it up perfectly. Three men, all of you came from joint parenthood. still raised differently, but still came together in one podcast to say that you're available to be vulnerable and to assist someone else, and to bring, to assist them in taking away from whatever it is that you've been through, so they don't have to go through the same thing, and you are willing to meet them at their greatest point of need. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Shazar. I know it's a book that I read as a great Bible for young adults, even adult adults. I truly loved it. I think everyone should get a copy of it. Crystal, can you put that up for me, please? And also for you guys to spend your Father's Day with me this hour, I am so grateful. And I want to do this again, and even have another podcast and another panel with males, because WAPA didn't want us to be as great as we could be. And I just want to say so much more, so much more. But, I want to say thank you guys. Thank you for being impactful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your honesty. And I know that everyone has learned something from you, that there's no need to have that umbrella of being macho. We're all individuals in the same world trying to be better and make it better. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to say thank you to my producers, Crystal and Kiana. You ladies are phenomenal. I want to say thank you to Albert Francis, Paul Smalls, and Langley Shazar. Thank you, gentlemen. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Kiki Creations and Infinitely Me. Check out what she has new. Fathers, I want to say happy Father's Day. Rest on purpose.